going on about, and they're held up by ropes.
Very good. Construction is the first part of drawing, but you can break free from it once you have the core shapes in place. If those swings were swinging, we would see those cubes from different angles. I think you kids are well on your way to becoming great artists.
You're back.
Yeah. Did you get fired?
No, unfortunately, I was not fired. That would have been better.
We finished our assignment.
These look great.
Yeah, thanks to DJ Tanner. She's a great art teacher.
What did you say? Oh, sorry, my bad. Stepped on the effects pedal again. You never showed us how to make that guitar. Right, you folks could probably tell me how to make that guitar after looking at the work you did today.
Well, the body is rounded, so maybe 2 cylinders. Then the neck is a cube, and the head is a modified cube.
The tricky part is the body. Once you get the main parts of the construction, you're most of the way there. Where it gets a little fuzzy is sometimes you do have to go in and add curved lines to connect the various shapes to make it look right. And then you can add your details. Subscribe and hit up the comments if you want a video on that.
Looks great!
DJ Tanner!
You? What?
Nice equipment. I can tell you're a fan.
What, this?
Sure, I'll sign that for you. Y'all want a show?
Yeah!
Oh, that pedal's for... No, I don't think,
Why aren't you dancing, cow guy?
I'm not sure that's appropriate right now, ma'am. This is a public school. Oh, this is a sick beat. Okay, I think I've seen enough for one day.
You're going to learn about drawing objects in perspective today, and you're going to hate every minute of it. Every minute of it.
Hey, this isn't the supply closet.
Is someone in my void?
Oh no, I know that voice.
Hello!
Hi, Mr. Sphere.
I don't get many visitors. Can I get you anything? Water? Fanta? Giraffe milk?
What? No.
Don't freak out about it. It's chilled. Have a seat.
Nice couch. And it's in perspective.
The perspective lines are a handy feature that came with this void.
This is perfect for my lesson. I can tell the kids to start by blocking out the space that the couch will take up, and then think through the pieces that the couch is made of. We'll use the construction method that we covered in an earlier lesson. For example, that base is just a simple cube. We can block that in using our perspective lines. The back of the couch? Also a cube. The sides of the couch? Just 2 more cubes. And the cushions? You guessed it. Cube City. There. We're done.
My couch looks a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, you're right. I'm pretty bad at that part.
Ha! I can help. I read an entire book about this.
My book? Yes, that's the one I'm looking for. Hand it over so I can get out of here.
Yeah, about that.
Really?
Don't worry. I memorized the whole thing. I'll walk you through it. Some things you just want to look less boxy. Those couch cushions you can just round off and make the shapes look more organic. But for more geometric areas, you have to be able to draw more than just cubes in perspective. For the arms of the couch, you can use a cylinder. Start by drawing a circle in perspective.
Yeah, that's the part I don't like.
A circle fits inside a square, so let's put a square on the arm of the couch, and then put our circle inside that.
Yeah, that's the part that's gonna take some practice, and it's okay if it takes a couple of tries to get that circle to look good in perspective. I know it takes me a couple tries. I always try to remember that when we're drawing a circle in a square, the edges of the circle are going to touch the square where the center point is. And the same thing's going to be true when we're drawing a circle in perspective.
There you go.
And then I could go in and erase the lines I don't need anymore. And then anywhere else on the couch, like along the top cushions, I can round off using the same technique.
I hear him in the supply closet.
Is he talking to that crazy sphere?
Oh no, should we help him?
Absolutely not. The kids! I hear the kids! Kids! Tell the people watching they need to subscribe.
What did he say?
Tell the fecal matter to hide?
And ring that bell.
Fling that smell? Definitely fling that smell.
Well, I think I made a pretty nice couch.
You did great.
Why are you being so nice to me today? I thought we were enemies.
Nah, we're frenemies. I lull you into a false sense of security and then stab you in the back. Now you have to draw something in perspective and at scale.
No, I hate figuring out how to scale things. Don't make me do scale.
You have to do scale.
All right, let's draw a car right here on the street.
nice
How do we
couch.
figure out the scale of the car when we're drawing it in a scene? First, I'm going to rough out a cube, and I'm going to do that in perspective, roughly where I want the car to go, right about here on the street. The car I'm going to draw isn't going to be as tall as a person. It's going to be a little bit shorter. What can I use to figure out the scale of that? How about this door in the background? I know that that's going to be taller than a person, So I want to use that as my basis to figure out the scale of this car. I'm going to run some perspective lines down from my box towards the vanishing point. I'm also going to run some lines away from the door. Where those lines intersect tells me what the height of the door would be at this location. If I follow those green lines back, that's going to help me figure out what the door's going to look like in the location where my car currently is. Since I want my car to be shorter than the door, I'm going to cut off the top of that box. This will give me the rough scale of my car that I'm going to draw.
Your success has taken me by surprise.
Ha! I still got it! Wait, where'd you go? Shoot! Well, might as well finish this car. We're going to use the construction technique we used on the couch. Right here, I have a little sketch of the side view of the car that I'm going to use as a reference. I'm just going to box out the bottom of the car, drawing that box in perspective. The top box is a little tricky because as you can see here, it's on an angle. I'm going to just start with a basic cube that's not on an angle, and then shave off the parts that I don't need. On the top of the cube, I'm going to start by drawing a line across the top of the car. And then I can draw a straight line from where that line intersects here down to this corner down here. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Then I can remove the original lines, and now I have a nice angle that's in perspective. I'm going to repeat this process by drawing a line along the back of the cube and drawing 2 more angled lines to figure out the back angle of the car window as well.
Did you catch all that?
Yep.
Yeah, but can he do the tires without me?
You have to let him out.
Believe it or not, he's the best art teacher we've ever had.
Yeah, he's bad, but he's not as bad as the last one.
Scotch tape. In my days, we used whale rubber as adhesive.
For the tires, I'm going to reuse the cube method I used on the couch. Draw a cube where the tire goes. Draw the best circle I can inside that cube. Draw the flat part of the tire along the bottom. Then we're going to draw in the back part of the tire, which is just another circle that's going to match the circle in front of it. We're just not going to see the back parts of that circle. Some of the other details, like the grille of the car, are just a bunch of lines that follow our perspective lines. I'm going to use the angle method again, but this time I'm going to use it to add a ridge to the car's hood. These sorts of things do take some practice. They're worth playing around with and worth trying out just to see what you come up with. Right now, I'm going to keep this car pretty boxy just to keep it simple and easy to practice along with.
We can hear you.
It's the students! Can you hear me?
Yes, that's literally what I just said.
I have an activity for you. Draw another car. This time, put it somewhere else on the grid. What I want you to do is try to understand scale. Use the grid to help you. You could try drawing a car behind the current car we have, or you can try drawing one on the other side of the street. If you want to use the same perspective grid and the same background that I have here to work from, you can download it at bradsartschool.com. I have a handful of lesson resources over there.
We can totally do this.
Totally.
You have to free him.
Fine, but only if he passes my final challenge.
What's your final challenge?
He must draw a person in perspective from a weird angle, or he will be forever trapped in my torture void!
I like that. It's really creamy.
Mr. Brad, you have to draw a person from this weird top-down angle.
What? You gotta be kidding me.
Nope, not kidding you.
Okay, here we go. Just like we did with the car, I'm gonna block out the space where our person goes by drawing a cube in perspective. I'm gonna be using the posing method we covered in a previous video. In that video, we talked about the 7-head principle, the one that said that humans are about 7 heads tall. This is gonna help me with my proportions. I wanna figure out the center point of our box, and to do that, I'm gonna draw lines from one corner of the box down to the other corner and then do it again going in the other direction. I'm also going to do this on the top and the bottom of my box. That's going to help me find the center line. That's going to be the midpoint of my body. Now if we take a look at our figure over here, the hip line is about smack dab in the middle of our 7-headed figure. So I'm going to rough that in too. I'm going to rough in the head so that it hits the middle of our little center line here. And for the body, I'm going to use a box. That's just going to help me understand this 3-dimensional perspective character a little bit better than just lines will. To keep it simple for now, I'm going to just use some cylinders for the arms and some cylinders for the legs. Just keep it in basic, simple shapes here. Now I know looking at this, I made it look really easy, but with everything when it comes to drawing, it takes practice. Where you're probably going to run into trouble while doing this is figuring out the head proportion. Once you get the head size right, everything else seems to fall into place. I personally have a tendency to draw my heads kinda big. I know, shocking. Once you get all your perspective lines and your box into place, it can be a little tedious to do that over and over if the proportions of your character just aren't right. One thing you might want to try doing is once you get that stuff in place is put a piece of paper over and trace where you think your character is going to go within that box. That way if you get it wrong, you just move the paper over and try again and just practice drawing the character over and over again instead of wasting time redrawing those perspective lines. There we go. Once it looks good, I can clean up my character and add some detail. Yeah, we did it! You know, I kind of like this void. Hey, kids! I'm back!
Yay!
Where's the sphere? I thought he was here with you.
He was. He disappeared when you zapped back here.
Home sweet void. Hey, where's my giraffe? You will pay for this, Mr. Brad! You shall pay!
Perspective lines. What are they made of? How did they get here? If I erase them, will everything fall down? Those questions and over 8,014 others will be answered in today's lesson, which is all about drawing in perspective. Not again.
Everything in this school is flat. Our desks, your globe, that giant sack of salmonella over there.
That's my lunch. It's not flat.
This is what happens when you wait this long to teach us perspective. We have to live in this flat world.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Let me plug in the Perspectivetron. This machine could take anything 2D and turn it into a 3-dimensional perspective drawing, automatically.
So you're not gonna teach us how to draw in perspective?
Trust me, kids, this machine is going to save us all a lot of time.
He hates teaching perspective.
And he thinks this machine's gonna get him out of today's lesson?
Come on, work. I found this old DVD of him teaching a class years ago.
Pop it in, let's give it a shot.
Perspective gives our 2-dimensional drawings a 3-dimensional appearance. It's made up of a horizon line and at least one vanishing point. With 1-point perspective drawing, the planes will face us and those will be flat, but the sides will recede towards the vanishing point.
What's that on his lip?
Ew, I think it's hair.
If we put another box over here on the other side and follow that back to the vanishing point, you start to get the idea of how this works. Imagine this was a small town with a street and buildings. All of these lines recede back to our single vanishing point. Since there is only 1 point here, we call it 1-point perspective. It's great for simple scenes where you don't want things to feel too flat.
Like my desk.
Yes, like your desk.
Is the DVD talking to you?
Whoa.
2-point perspective has, you guessed it, 2 vanishing points. The second vanishing point is also located along the horizon line. Finding the right spacing between these vanishing points can be a little tricky. If they're too far apart, there isn't much depth to your drawing. If your vanishing points are too close together, things start to look way too exaggerated. There's also 3-point perspective. This is the point that we've been drawing out our vertical lines up and down on. But 3-point perspective gives us another point in the sky. This is great if your character is looking up at something. Or if you position that vanishing point just a little higher, it gives you a little more height to your scene. Unlike the first 2 points, the third point doesn't have to be on your horizon line. Okay, I got it working. No, my lunch! Back to the DVD.
Back to the DVD.
Let's take a little closer look at the horizon line. The position of the horizon line determines the viewpoint of your drawing. For most photos and drawings, the horizon line is somewhere in the middle of the page. If you want a top-down view, move the horizon line to the top of the page or even off your canvas completely. If you want a mouse eye view of the world, put your horizon line along the bottom of the page in order to look up at your subject. Another technique is to have the horizon line on an angle. You don't see this very often because we're used to looking at the world when we're standing up. But if you're seeing the world from the eyes of a person who is lying down, then a sideways horizon line will do the trick. Use this technique sparingly. It may look cool at first to tilt your horizon line, but since it's unusual for the viewer ever to view the world that way, they might end up reading too much into it or just might not connect with the scene because of a lack of realism, even if all the lines are correct.
Check out these really old paintings. They didn't know how to draw perspective yet.
They didn't know how to draw cats either.
Or baby humans. Huzzah! It's working! Did you see that? I turned your desk into a real desk.
No, you turned that rhino kid into a desk.
You did what now? Activity. draw perspective lines over photos. If your perspective line looks exaggerated or just kind of off, drawing perspective lines over photos is a great way to figure out what realistic perspective looks like. Doing this a few times will help you see how far apart those vanishing points should get in order to find the effect that you're looking for. This will also help you find the horizon line if it's not apparent at first. You could do this with pencil and paper, just tracing over a photo that you've printed out or already have, or you could do it digitally like I am here. It's going to be easier if you pick out a photo of something man-made, maybe something with buildings or inside of a room, because it's going to give us some nice straight lines to work with. When you're drawing your lines, don't stop drawing where the line stops. Keep going. It's going to look sloppy at first. That's okay. Then we could jump in and trace out some of the other lines. Where these lines meet is our first vanishing point. We can then follow back the other lines that are going in the other direction to our second vanishing point. Now that we have the vanishing points, we have all of the basics we need for a good perspective grid. We can add our own lines now to make a real grid. If we wanted to draw a box in this scene, we could use the perspective grid to do that. Or if we wanted to get a feel for where a character would go, we could draw a box roughly the size of that character to figure out the proportions. The next video is going to be all about drawing characters and objects in perspective, so subscribe and ring that bell if you don't want to miss that one. After practicing this a few times, you're going to start to be able to pick out the perspective lines pretty easily, and you're instantly going to be able to tell which photos are 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, or even 3-point perspective. Did that work?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I think not.
At least Mr. Brad has a lunch now.
He has a what now?
Activity. Draw some boxes on a plane.
We've been on this plane forever.
We should try drawing boxes. Nope, wrong kind of plane.
Oh.
This is going to be easiest if you use 1-point perspective. Create a horizon line and then place your vanishing point anywhere along that line. Now let's get to drawing. Start by drawing a box. Just a rectangle, the part of the box that is facing you. And now we're going to create the side of that box. So we're going to draw our lines going back to the vanishing point. You don't have to draw them all the way back. You can use a ruler. If you draw it digitally, sometimes it's just easier to go all the way back and then erase the parts you don't need. Once these two lines are in place, I'm going to add another straight vertical line to show the end of that box. So for this activity, I want you to end up with 6 total boxes. So if this is our first box, let's add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the page. Practice drawing some boxes so that some are going to be in front of the other boxes and some of those boxes are going to be behind other boxes.
This is too easy.
Okay, this time I want you to do it from a 2-point perspective. This time, just draw a vertical line and then each plane of the cube is going to recede to a different vanishing